some golden rules to be respected during this online training session. All attendees are requested to refrain from making any reference to politics, sex, or religion. All attendees must mute their audio unless instructed by the speaker. Please refrain from asking questions while the training session is going on. If you do have any questions, please send them across to Zoom Master. We will pick your questions and respond them during the Q&A session. Now, as you all know, parliamentary procedures is a very important topic for all of us, especially for leaders and aspiring leaders. Conducting a meeting with adherence to proper parliamentary procedures is of paramount importance. By adopting clear parliamentary procedure rules and understanding how they work will allow you to conduct a much more effective meeting. Now you see, there's more to learn, and without taking more time, let's move on with our program. Now let me hand over the podium to our District 127 Program Quality Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Sujil, who has been patiently waiting to kickstart today's program. DTM Sujil needs no introduction. He is a true leader and has been serving the Toastmasters fraternity for many years. He always puts member needs first and guides all of us to be the very best version of ourselves. Let's give a round of applause to District 127 Program Quality Director, Distinguished Toastmaster Sujil. Over to you, PQD.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Toastmaster Anne. And as I say, leadership and learning are indispensable to each other, as said by John F. Kennedy. Today, this evening rather, we are all here, assembled here to learn more so that we will be better version of ourselves. And that too on a subject, which is something probably some might say it is alien, but these are the requirements of the day. What is parliamentary procedures? These are the accepted rules, ethics, and customs governing the meeting of an organization. What are the benefits of having a parliamentary procedure in place? The parliamentary procedures training will help us to understand and guarantee a respectful democratic process. They ensure free and fair exchange of an argument or an idea across the table, the majority to decide and minority to be heard, clarity about the subject at hand. When people come together, there will be a lot of different thoughts, different ideas. That's as said. When they come together, the organization, the government, and the governments to conduct the business. Certain rules, referred to collectively as parliamentary procedures, must be applied correctly to maintain these democratic principles. That is the main reason why we are assembled here, to learn more about the parliamentary procedures and to learn from somebody who is a master, who has been in Toastmasters since 1996. He has scaled all the levels of leadership in Toastmasters. He is the person who we all look up to in this part of the world and we admire a lot. For him, Toastmasters is one of the most important things in his life. And he has been guiding the districts around this part of the world for the last many, many years as a parliamentarian. Ladies and gents, let's put our hands together to welcome our pride of District 127, Colonel of past international President, Colonel DTM Murad. Over to you.
Thank you. PQD. Sujit, just wanted to check, is my voice echoing?
Yes, yes. Yes, it's echoing.
Okay, so what I'll do is, because I'm sharing the screen from one login, and so I'll just try to.
Have you joined from two different devices, DTM Murad?
Yes, I have, because I don't have the camera on one and I'm presenting on the other. So what I'll do is,
you have to leave the audio.
can you hear me properly now?
No, sir, you can mute one device.
Yeah, I have muted it, but it's not working, so I'll just log off.
Yeah, you need to mute the speaker as well.
If required later.
No. Speaker volume shall be 0.
I did that also.
Can you leave the audio on the gadget which you are using for your video?
No, I'll just log off one of them.
Yes.
Is that okay now?
Perfect.
Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Great, so fellow Toastmasters, yet once again, a session on parliamentary procedure. As the PQD was arranging for this, he sent me a message today with a long list of questions, which means finally there are some people who would be interested in learning more about parliamentary procedures, but not only that, use parliamentary procedures to be able to be more effective within meetings. Because each and every one of you are part of the meeting and are able to use the parliamentary procedures, whether effectively or counter to that ineffectively, is totally dependent on how much you know about parliamentary procedures and what is your goal of using parliamentary procedures. Because there are, the majority of the time, parliamentary procedures are used to streamline and focus the meeting for it to be effective and with good results at the end. There are some other times, and very rarely, there may be some people who understand parliamentary procedures, but they use it to disrupt the meeting. And by that, I say that they use it in a way that would use the ignorance of the others of parliamentary procedures in order to take the meeting in a certain way. And here comes the role of the parliamentarian within any meeting. And we will be going through a couple of points, but I was amazed at the number of questions that were there even before the session started. So I decided to do it a bit differently because questions and answers apparently will take a lot of time in answering them. So my approach would be to start answering the questions that I received from the PQD. And as we are going along, you may have some other questions coming into your mind, or you may reflect upon the meetings that you have had within the council, within the ExCom, where there was parliamentary procedure, and ask those questions. So I have the questions that I received before the session. I will answer them. And if there are any other questions, you can put them in the chat, and the moderator could hold on to them until we finish the questions that I have received, and then go ahead and try and answer. If time permits and there are no more questions, then we will go and highlight a couple of things about parliamentary procedure. So let me read the first question that I received. And the first question was, what are the basic functions of a parliamentarian in a meeting? And thank you for whoever asked this question. There is another part of the question. Can a member serve as a parliamentarian? So the basic or the purpose of the parliamentarian is to facilitate the transaction of the business. And in this case, Toastmasters International, district business, international convention or business meeting procedures. It's a facilitating role, and it's in no way authoritative. And there are sometimes that, I get a few calls where some people have certain questions, or some people want to explore what happened in the meeting or a certain procedure. I sense sometimes that they feel that I have authority as a parliamentarian on whatever happens in the district, while in fact that is not the case. The parliamentarian is a facilitator within the meeting. Whatever happens outside the business meeting, the parliamentarian has no authority on. Therefore, I always refer them to the district or the concerned person, be it the world headquarters or someone specifically within the district that they can take the issues to. So the parliamentarian is a facilitator and is an aid to the chair of the meeting, whoever the chair would be. The chair might be the district director or whoever they have delegated the meeting to, in case they are not able to attend. So whoever is chairing the meeting, the parliamentarian is a facilitator and is a reference in case they are needed in differences in points of view. Therefore, the second part of the question was whether any member can become a parliamentarian. The answer is yes. Anyone can become a parliamentarian, but the preferred role or the preferred person that will be taking up the role would preferably understand parliamentary procedures. If you have noticed in the international convention during the business meeting, when they read the credentials of the parliamentarian, most probably they would be a certified parliamentarian. That means they have gone through courses that recognize them as an authority in parliamentarian procedures. So preferably they need to have gone through a parliamentary procedure certification, or they have knowledge through prior experience, and someone who can add balance within the meeting. So the parliamentarian is not someone who would take the sides of the chair all the time. In many cases, the chair is not following the policy, or is not knowledgeable enough of a certain policy where they can actually get back to the parliamentarian and ask whether this is in place or not. And the parliamentarian would have references that they can go back to, because not every parliamentarian is a magician where they have answers for everything. So even parliamentarians can get back to reference material whether it's the policy, the governing documents of Toastmasters, or even the Robert's Rule of Parliamentary Procedures book, which is available, and there are many versions of that, which is available online also, that you can access and read if you wanted to get knowledge of the parliamentary procedures. The other function of the parliamentarian is to ensure that the meeting is fair to everyone. That means the members, the voters, have the right to speak and to make sure that there is equitable time given to each and every member. Now, mind you, I am again reiterating that the parliamentarian is a facilitator to the chair of the meeting. Therefore, they do not dictate time. The chair dictates the time allotted, and the chair manages the time as per their outlook or perspective within the meeting and the agenda items, whether there is enough time for the next agenda item and to finish the meeting in time. There are many considerations, but then the chair is the one who is controlling. The parliamentarian merely notifies the chair if there are lapses in time discussing a certain thing, and then it's up to the chair again to make sure that they take the meeting through as per their perspective and their management skills, keeping in mind that the chair does not have full authority in deciding whatever they want. This is where parliamentary procedures come in. And in the first place, it's the governing documents. So everything that goes within the meeting needs to adhere to the governing documents of Toastmasters International, if the meeting is about Toastmasters International, or according to Robert's Rule of Parliamentary Procedures in terms of voting, in terms of who gets to speak, the sequence of speaking, and so on. There are many guidelines that would specify the procedures, and here the parliamentarian would facilitate this matter for the chair of the meeting. So functions, you know, and the other part of the question is, what are the functions of parliamentarian before and after the meeting? And that's interesting, because as I said, there are many people who ask me after the meeting about issues. And I always tell them, this is not my role, but if there was something that pertained to that meeting specifically, then I'd welcome them to note it out to me, and I would take it up with the chair of the meeting to ensure that it doesn't happen next time, and ensure that the chair of the meeting is also aware of these, but nothing outside the business meeting. A member can serve as parliamentarian, but usually the chair of the meeting or the district director chooses someone who can add value, who is knowledgeable about parliamentary procedures. And there is nothing wrong in having a meeting between the district director, once they take on the role in the new year, and the potential parliamentarians. Because there has to be rapport also between the parliamentarian and the chair. Again, keeping in mind the governing documents and the procedures that need to be followed within Toastmasters. And if you have questions, just put them and then we will get back to them later. Okay, question 2. What is the purpose of seconding? In the meetings that you might or most probably have attended within the council or within the ExCom meeting, probably in areas and divisions, there could be parliamentary procedures also. We always ask if there is a vote to be cast or there is a motion that is put on the floor. We always ask for a second, except, now there are exceptions. Every motion has to have a second, except when report is reported by a committee within the business meeting. Then it doesn't require a second because the committee serves as a second. There are many members of the committee, therefore the second is bypassed. Now, why do we ask for a second? And the reason is very simple. Whenever there is a motion, the chair would like to, or the chair should investigate whether there is support for the motion. And a very short way of seeking support for the motion is asking for a second. That means there is at least one more person other than the person who is putting forward the motion. There is one more person that approves of the motion. Therefore, we could go now. If there is no second, if no one seconds the motion, then the motion is defeated right away. It doesn't go to voting. So the next agenda item, directly. Okay, so it's a way of sensing whether there is support for the motion that is put forward. That is the simple meaning of requiring a second for every motion that is put forward. Third question. If a member disagrees with an opinion stated by the chair, what can the member do? Now, if there is disagreement and disagreement is allowed in any meeting, but a member should be allowed or has the right to be heard if they are speaking on the same agenda item or the discussion topic. They have the right to be heard. Therefore, they need to raise their hand depending on the process that is set by the chair, raising hands or standing up or mentioning the name, and then stating what is the purpose of them wanting to speak. Now, there are a couple of things that I will briefly touch upon, one or two things that the member could speak to. Number one is you could stand up and state your name, your role, and say point of information. That means the member wants to add information or to correct some information that is being discussed. So one is point of information. Two is point of order. Now, point of order, it is compulsory for the chair to hear out the member. What does point of order mean? Point of order means that there may be a wrongful order to the process of discussion, or a wrongful order or process within the voting, anything that might be not in order within the parliamentary procedures. And yes, a member could point it out, even if the parliamentarian has skipped their mind or they might be busy in looking up some other things. So they can, the members can put up a point of order, point of information, clarification. Nevertheless, it is the chair's prerogative to acknowledge or not, right? So they might postpone it till a certain point is finished with. However, a point of order, it is required that the chair listens to the member pointing it out. And it's up to the chair whether to decide whether it's in order, their point of view is in order or out of order. But reasons need to be stated why they are out of order, and if they are in order, then it needs to be corrected. Now, you can't expect that every member who disagrees can stand up and speak just because they disagree. Because the agenda item has been there and it is set. Therefore, if someone disagrees, they cannot expect that they would be heard right away. There will be discussions at some point of important issues that you can put up your hand and speak. It doesn't mean that whenever you don't, a member doesn't feel in agreement, they stand up and speak. No. Within certain segments, if there are discussions to be put forward, if there are points that need to be added, you do it when the discussion is happening. You don't disrupt the flow of the discussion in order to say that you don't agree. There needs to be reasons for that also. Okay. How is the presence of a quorum determined? Now, the presence of a quorum is usually determined by a registration process, which happens before the meeting starts. And in business meetings, most probably in the main business meeting during the convention or the conference, there is a credentials chair who is appointed. And in any business meeting, there should be a credentials chair who is appointed. And the credentials chair, along with the district team, they send messages that each and every voting member will need to register. And they could set a timeline for registration. And once the cutoff time comes, and someone has not seen the email or had something to do, there is no excuse. So the credentials chair, along with their team, they actually look at how many people registered for the meeting, and that is the number that is taken as a basis for the quorum. Now, you might say that maybe not all the people who registered are in attendance. That's fine, but the quorum is taken from the registration, which is different than each and every vote. You might notice that in online meetings, not all the registered members are there, or someone has cut off because they have technical issues, because of any other reason they cannot attend. Now, the votes will be taken as for the people who are attendants and the people who have voted, which has got nothing to do with the quorum, because the quorum has been established. Once it is established, then the meeting can be conducted and the decisions could be taken according to the quorum, not the number of attendees. The other part of the question is what actions can be taken in the absence of a quorum. Now, official business cannot be conducted or voting within a business meeting that does not have a quorum cannot be taken as accepted with the number of people who are there if there is no quorum. However, there could be discussions within the meeting, and if there are any major issues, the number of votes within that certain agenda item or discussion topic could be taken to the whole of the voters and be ratified. So that is possible, but the main aspect for a business meeting to be or for the votes within a business meeting to be accepted is that there needs to be a quorum. So basically, whatever decisions, this is why the district always says we need to have a quorum, so that the people who are attending do not waste their time. Because if there is no quorum, then there is the votes or whatever discussed topics are not accepted as a given within the district until they are ratified. Okay, question number 5. What are the regular methods that voting may be conducted, and explain the significance of each? Now, there are basically just a few methods of voting. Lately, online voting has come in, and I will speak a little bit on that. Now, there are certain agenda items, like the minutes of the meeting and adapting the agenda and so on, which are routine items. Usually it is taken as accepted if the chair announces without objection. Let's say for the minutes of the meeting will be accepted as presented without objection. That is actually a vote, by the way, and if you do not speak out while the short period where the chair stays quiet and expects to get an objection if available or if present, if you don't object, that means the vote is carried. But this is only within the routine items that are very simple and do not require discussions and so on. So without objection by the chair would be considered one way of voting. The other way of voting is by voice. So the chair may want to conduct the vote by voice, where the chair says, all those in favor say aye, and then the aye voice out their their vote. And those who are against, the chair says, those who are against, please say nay. So the naysayers would voice out their votes. Now, there's a lot of play in this aspect where if people are passionate about taking the motion forward, then their voices go loud. The aye-sayers are louder than the naysayers. Or probably, if there are enthusiastic naysayers, then they will put their voices louder than the aye-sayers. And that happens because they could gauge the ayes. Therefore, now it is up to the discretion of the chair. And here probably the parliamentarian would also advise the chair whether there is a clear majority through voice. Now, if there is no clear majority and the members have the right to point it out to the chair if they think otherwise, if the chair says the ayes have it, and there is a member who is not satisfied, within reason, of course, they can actually raise a point of order, and they state out that they are not clear whether the votes are in favor or against, which takes us to the next voting method, which is by hand. So voice or by hand, and it's optional, it's not in sequence, but I'm telling you that these are possibilities that could be taken, the votes by hand. Now, the chair could say, those in favor, raise your hand. And they might actually point to the credential chair or the tally counters to ask for the count of the ayes, and then those against, raise your hand. When they raise their hand, there is a count. Now, there is a problem with this method when it comes to elections, for instance. The problem is there may be someone who carries more than one vote. Therefore, it is not going to be accurate. Therefore, in cases that there are people who are carrying more than one vote, and it's not a routine item or it's an important item, then it needs to go to a ballot, where you might have slips that are secure, that were given to the registrants at the time. And let me point out one thing here. If there are slips, voting slips that are given to members, voting members, these slips are non-transferable. Okay, there was an instance many years ago where there were a lot of voting slip trading happening between the voters. Someone gave another person their slips for a certain role and a certain person, and they exchanged the other one. This is lack of integrity, and this should be and will be, for that matter, dealt with very diligently. So these slips, the ballots are non-transferable. They are given to you. You are responsible for them. If you cannot attend, therefore, they are not used. That means you abstain from voting. This is why it's important that you actually attend. Now, in COVID time, we were forced into using online voting. And it's very important that online voting is dealt with in a very secure way. Therefore, Toastmasters International has introduced, I think, election body or some software that is recognized by Toastmasters International, and the chair has the responsibility, including the credentials chair, and in this case, the parliamentarian, to make sure that the votes are secure and that the votes, they don't have slippage in the votes, and there is no manipulation within the voting. Therefore, there may be some security checks that need to be done, or even sample votes that need to be taken to ensure that the system has integrity. So, without objection, that's a sort of voting, voice vote, hand vote, ballot, which could be in person if you have in person, or it could be online. And if it's hybrid, then you have both of them in place. So that these are the types of voting that could be conducted. Question number 6, is a presiding officer obligated to rule on any appropriate issue? Let me clarify one thing again and again. The presiding officer does not rule on any agenda item or topic that needs to be voted on. Okay? The presiding officer will need to rule on parliamentary procedure aspects, will need to rule on the people who want to speak up on a certain item, if they are in order, or if there is time, or they are eligible for speaking. Because the presiding officer does not have authority to take the meeting one way or the other, except for making sure the agenda item is met and the meeting has order in it. That is where the authority comes. Otherwise, it is the voters who will be able to make a ruling by their votes. But the presiding officer does have the authority to make sure that the meeting is going according to the agenda item, according to time, according to parliamentary procedures, and within the governing document guidelines. Second part of the question, when does a presiding officer have an obligation to vote? Now, yeah, this is a matter which I had a slide on, but I won't be able to show it, but I would like to highlight certain things. Now, the chair has a deciding vote, but there are times that the chair most of the time has a vote, by the way, because they are the district director, or they might be representing their club or something. However, if the chair is voting just like anyone else, then they are voting at the same time that the voters are voting, and that is counted. Now, the chair's deciding vote comes in play when there is a tie. So the voting has finished, and the tally counters say that there's a 50-50 vote on a certain agenda item. Now, the chair has the right to decide whether they will vote or not. Now, if there is any vote on any topic that is 50-50, and the chair does not vote, then the motion is defeated. That means there is no action taken. Why? Because there is a majority vote, means that it requires 51 votes. Now, if the chair doesn't vote, that means the motion is defeated. There is no 51, it's 50-50, right? Now, the chair can vote if they have not voted before on a certain item. And if the chair votes yes, then the motion will pass because we will have 51. Okay, so 50% plus 1, let's say. Let me say that again. If the chair does not vote, or it is a 50-50 with the chair's vote, the motion is defeated. If the chair votes yes, and there's 50% plus 1, then the motion passes. Clear? If there are any questions, just put them and then we will answer them. So the chair has an obligation to vote, by the way. I mean, if they're voting they have a vote, they have an obligation to vote. At the same time, they have the right to abstain. Just like any other member, the chair has a right to abstain. Okay, question number 7. What is the proper way to break a tie during election of club officers? Should the president cast the tie-breaking vote? As we mentioned before, it's exactly the same. Whether it's club, area, division, parliamentary procedures are the same. Therefore, the voting procedures are also the same. Question 8. If a motion has been rejected, can the members bring the same motion back before the members to vote on it again? Now, I presume that the person who has asked this question is asking the question pertaining to bringing back the matter or the agenda item for vote within the same meeting. And that is possible, but with certain parameters. And it is called a motion to reconsider. Okay, a motion to reconsider. Now, we talked about, it's not just because someone was not in favor of the vote, therefore they can bring back the matter over and over and over again just by invoking the motion to reconsider. The motion to reconsider has to come with either some procedural aspect that makes the vote, the previous vote, not in order, therefore invalid, or if there are new information that need to be added in order for the body, the council or the ExCom, the body of the voters, to reconsider. So the chair will not just entertain anyone who comes up and says, I want to reconsider this agenda there has to be something different for it to be reconsidered. And there is one aspect within parliamentary procedures that you need to be aware of. Now, the person who wants or who brings up the aspect of motion to reconsider a certain topic has to be on the positive side of the motion. That means has to be part of the majority of the votes which went through, whether it's positive or against, it doesn't matter. But the person who will be asking to reconsider, and probably they would be asking to reconsider if certain motions pass, would be on the side of the passed motion. Therefore, the chair has, if they don't know how the person voted, the chair has to ask this person, did you vote in favor of the vote? Now, in favor means it could have been not to do something or to do something. If they were on the winning side of the vote, then they might entertain the motion to reconsider. So it's not easy, and people who want to bring up a motion to reconsider need to understand that they are wasting time of so many people, and they might actually be construed as people who just want to obstruct or put forward their opinions, which might not look good for them. Okay, so those are the questions that we received prior to the meeting. I'd like to ask the session moderator whether we have time to take more questions or not.
Thank you, DTM Murad. We do have a couple of questions which has come in. Maybe we quickly go through, and maybe let us set a time for another 10 minutes. Let us set a time of 10 minutes and then,
Sure.
yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. The first question which has come up recently is, motions can be amendable. Any restrictions for the number of amendments possible? That is the question.
There are no limits to how many amendments, but you need to understand, if you are voting on a certain item and someone comes in to amend, the next amendment needs to be an amendment to the amendment.
Okay.
It cannot be a new amendment, right? So
Okay.
if there is an amendment to the amendment, then you need to take the votes in sequence, and the chair and the parliamentarian needs to be aware of tracking this whole thing, because it could be very confusing. Now, if you are voting on the amendment of the amendment and it is passed, then you go back to the amended version of the original vote. And whatever results that brings, then you go back to the original vote. If it is accepted to be amended, then you read out the amended vote as the original one and you vote on it. And there you would be able to say that the motion passed or not. So there are many, but it will become very confusing if you do amendment to amendment to amendment. We get confused with one amendment only. So you need to be careful. Wording the amendment, being able to have a focused amendment, and again, not wasting people's time just because you think it's something that is of value. You look at the benefit of the district, the benefit of the council meeting, in order to do this. As I said in the beginning, there are people who just come in, they want to show that they know how to amend, and they amend, not looking at the final benefit or explaining what is the benefit of the amendment.
Thank you. Now, I think this is somebody at the club level who has put up this question. What happens if there is a decision to be made, but the club doesn't meet the quorum? Club wants to take up this. I
Right.
repeat the question. What happens if there is a decision to be made, but the club doesn't meet the quorum at the meeting?
Okay, so there are two options. Either you have another meeting and make sure that there is a quorum available, or you take the discussions within that meeting and take it to the members by email or whatever means that is accepted by the club and ratify it.
Okay, the next question is, what is pending business and what is new business?
Okay, so let me backtrack on the motion to reconsider from this question. Motion to reconsider has to be dealt with at the end of the meetings, right? So you cannot have a motion to reconsider in the middle of the agenda items or the items discussed. The motion reconsider, even if you do it, the chair will take it to the end of the meeting where all the pending business or other business is exhausted. Therefore, the motion to reconsider is at the end of the meeting. Could you just reiterate the question again, Sujit?
Okay, the question is, what happens if there is a decision to be made, but the club doesn't meet the quorum?
No, this is the one previous one.
Yeah.
I think it was the next one.
What is a pending business? What is a new business?
Okay, so pending business is whatever business that was not concluded or was carried forward from previous meetings. Other business is whatever that might come up that was not included within the agenda. However, other business may not be accepted by the chair, whether it's due to time or irrelevancy, or that could be taken offline and so on. So you could put forward other business, but preferably also that if there is any other business, that it is introduced before adopting the agenda. Because once the agenda is adopted, you may not be accepted for introducing any new business or other business.
Thank you. Next question. For us, gavel is a sign of, does different types of gavel mean different sets of actions? I repeat the question. Does different types of the gavel means different set of actions?
I have no idea, and does it really matter?
This is a question from probably a club member. Then a quick one. A club wants to change the meeting from Wednesday to Saturday. What is the procedure we should go through?
There has to be a business meeting conducted, discussed, voting to be done, and therefore decided upon by the members, not by the ExCom.
I think let's keep it as the last question. The last question, I think this is going to be a little bit lengthy. What are the types of motions? Privilege, main, subsidiary, incidental. Please shed some light.
Yeah, well, I'll probably send you a slide, Sujit.
Okay, yeah, we'll share it.
Which has, I mean, this could be a whole day session of the different, I'll send you the slide, maybe you can share it with
Okay, I will do that. I think let us, due to the paucity of time, maybe we'll just wind up because it's getting late. We need to thank all the, firstly, I think I missed out to acknowledge the presence of our district director, DTM Deepa Surendran, and division directors, area directors, and all the members. Thank you for joining us. And let me also thank past international president, Colonel DTM Murad, for being here. Now, officially, there will be our Division G director who will be doing the vote of thanks. Let me invite Division G Director, DTM Dilip, onto the stage.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and leaders. What an enlightening, empowering educational session. I'm sure it will be a refresher for many and definitely something new for majority of the people who attended today's session. Let's extend our heartfelt appreciation to our region's pride, immediate past international president, distinguished Toastmaster, Colonel Murad, a beacon so bright. Shall we give a round of applause? We express our gratitude to District 127 leadership team, program quality team led by Program Quality Director, distinguished Toastmaster Sujit. We also thank our moderator, Toastmaster An Veeramantri. A special appreciation to our today's Zoom master for conducting the session smoothly, distinguished Toastmaster Anita Naidu. Lastly, a big thank you to all the Toastmasters who generously dedicated their time on this Wednesday Ramadan evening. So my dear fellow Toastmasters, either in Toastmasters or in our life, when in demand, apply the learnings what we had today with order and respect, and I'm sure our voices truly succeed. With this, let's adjourn this session. Wishing you a Ramadan Kareem and enjoy your rest of the evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.